Welcome to the funnel. My name is John Shea, and I'm president of Alignment Group. This is episode number 240 of the funnel, the key to sales training success. Before we begin, I want to remind you to head on over to alignment-group.com/the funnel, subscribe, and we will send you the show notes weekly. Every Thursday morning, 9 a.m., the email comes out of the previous week's published content. Okay, let's jump into the agenda. Sales manager, coaching, reinforcement, accountability. So what do I mean by sales manager? Well, it's simple. We have these sales training programs and we put them in place. And we pay a lot of money. So I've done this in the past. I can tell you back in the day when I was a manager or VP of sales, I would hire a company to come in and provide sales training. And it was in different formats. The last one I did, I think it was a series of 3 or 4 days, not 5 days, 3 or 4 full day seminar type training. And I broke it into 3, maybe 4 teams of folks that would attend the class. So the tables are arranged in sort of a horseshoe, so the person can walk up and down and talk to you individually. He had the laptop, the PowerPoint, the whiteboard, where he'd write everything. And that was the process, right? Leave your phones off. Don't take any calls. When we have breaks, we set the timer. We did kind of a cool thing. If you were late, you had to put $5 in the kitty. And then there were some other things where we put money in. And at the end, the best presentation won the pot of money. So that was the sales training program. And then when it was completed, everybody went back to work. And managers were expected to reinforce it. And some did and some didn't. So I'm giving you this heads up because this is how it worked in the past. And then I started to figure out that wasn't going to work. So I changed it. And I changed a lot of things that I did. But that was the last one of its kind, right? So that was the way in which it was done. I did other ones where it was like a full day out in the field. Then there was a couple where they would do once a week in the morning at the trainer's office. So I've done it multiple ways. And my biggest issue was enforcement and implementation. So step one was I spaced it out over a longer period of time, focused on very specific things in the training, reinforced and managed that, and then moved on to the next topic. And that seemed to work the best. But I'd say the biggest problem that I run into with sales training, and it's simple, is the sales managers aren't prepared to do what's necessary to be successful. So it's the do as I say, not as I do process. So they're smoking a cigarette and then telling the people around them don't smoke, or telling their kids not to smoke, right? Like, really? Okay, I'm guilty of that. I grew up in New Jersey, just outside Philly. The language is all different there, right? So I tend to curse a little bit. That's one of my flaws. And it's hard to do that when you have kids. So you have to manage it, because do as I say, not as I do really doesn't work. So you have to lead the way in the things that you do as a manager. So my recommendation is this. The first thing I would do is I would train the managers on the process, on the sales training. I wouldn't even train the reps. I would get the managers fully trained if I were you. Now, I kind of did it as I moved forward. I did it a little differently. I mixed the managers in with the reps and then held the managers accountable for what they did. And it was nice to have the managers sitting there with their reps in the training class. And I still think you can do that. It costs you a little bit more money, but who cares? If it's going to drive revenue, what's the difference? I know you're on a budget, blah, 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 blah. 1 or 2 deals should pay for that. So you fully train the sales managers first. So they deeply understand the core concepts. So they know exactly what it is their reps are going to get trained on. And then how would I take it from there? Okay, well, let's talk about coaching, right? I'm assuming you have a coaching culture. I mixed 2 words there. And if you don't, you're going to create one. So you build all your coaching around training. So each manager has a responsibility to develop a plan to coach their team to what they've just learned. So you talk about reinforcement. That's next, right? So your managers go through the training, fully trained. They're required to write a coaching plan for the team and for each individual. And if you have a coaching process, it's just building in the new content into the coaching process. If you don't have a coaching process, then I suggest you build one. And then have your managers or the managers. If you're a single entity, you're a business owner, there's one manager, it's a little bit easier. You can build your coaching process and then build your plan around the content so it's specific and targeted. Now, I might recommend in certain cases, that you do an assessment of your sales team. And why would you do an assessment? Because you want to know strengths and weaknesses, where they're strong and where they might need help. Obviously, if you're in the field, you're working with them, you kind of know a little bit about that as well. But this gives you an objective point of view, an assessment. And with an objective point of view, it's hard to argue that. Well, that's what you believe. No, that's what the report is telling me. And we'll include a link to Objective Management Group. Has a really cool sales assessment product. I can help you with that if you reach out to me. I can do everything from telling you how to set it up to pricing it out for you. You can also go to the link and do some basic assessments where they give you some free stuff back. Not the full-blown report. You have to pay for that. But you get a lot of good intel. So I'll put that link in the blog post. But you build the coaching around the training. Maybe you assess your people. Now you're ready to train the sales reps because your managers are raring to go. So you begin to train your sales team. And here's what I would do with that. I'd put the managers in with their team. If you're doing a 3-5 day, you're still doing that sort of thing, bring the managers through the training as well. Even if you have to send them away with the reps. I am a big fan of space training, but not a lot of companies are built on that. And I could tell you the different entities, the Sandlers of the world, SPIs, they, from what I've seen, they don't do that. Sales Performance International will come in and they'll do some coaching. They'll do some management tool building with you and some management meetings to get ready for the training. And that's kind of cool. But they still do like the 3 or 4 day seminar thing where they come in and teach the team. And if it's multiple teams, they do it over a period of time. So if that's the case, I would drop the managers in that class. Not, and I'm saying this clearly, not walking in, sitting down for half an hour and then getting up and leaving and getting on the phone and checking emails. Totally in the class, doing the class with their team. Again, now they've been through it twice. First on their own, they've built a coaching plan, and now they're going back through it with you. You think the managers would understand that stuff better than the reps when the reps come out of the training? Do you think the managers are now prepared to support and reinforce that? I'd say so. Yeah, and there's some CRM things you can do, and there's all kinds of tools and stuff like that. I get that, and that's part of it. But this is really the keys to succeeding with your training. So now let's talk about reinforcement. Okay, it's like anything else. Not only in your coaching sessions, which if you have a coaching culture and you build a coaching plan, you're coaching on a consistent basis. And if you've listened to some of the things I've said in previous podcasts, the vast majority of your time needs to be spent on that. And I do talk about that. I've got some podcasts coming up on coaching. I've got one in a couple of weeks. I do write some of this stuff ahead of time. I have one coming up in a couple of weeks on coaching a remote team. On sales managers' time management. I'm doing one on that. And it all kind of intertwines. So sometimes you hear me repeat this stuff. You're like, well, you already said that. Yeah, I know. Well, there's a lot to know here, and it all crosses over. It that doesn't sit in its own little silos. So if you have a coaching culture, I can't get that right, coaching culture, and you build out the coaching plan, now it's time for reinforcement. You want to do your standard coaching in the field, if you're in the field and you can observe. And if you're doing it remote, well, I got a podcast on that coming up. You do your coaching. You do your follow-up. Team meetings are a great place to bring it all out. You've been through this training. The manager's been through it twice. Managers are in the field coaching. Or maybe it's just you and your team because you're a small team, small company. That's fine. You bring the team together and you hash through some of it. Pick specific topics to talk about. Maybe an area where you're getting a lot of struggle from a number of people, but there's a couple of people really strong in it. So they can help one another. So you can have the strong people and you talk about it in a team meeting. What's working, what's not working, what we need to tweak. Maybe try this. Structured team meetings, not a free-for-all, but structured. This is the topic we're going to discuss this week. And our experts are not only going to be the managers, but we have 3 reps who are excelling in this area of the training that are going to help us work out some of the kinks. I say kinks. I need to learn how to talk. And this needs to be throughout the sales organization. So up the food chain from the sales managers to executive level need to support it. Administration needs to support it in a positive way. Well, you share the information. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing. This is how we're doing it. We're real excited about it. It becomes part of the culture. That's the reinforcement aspect. You just keep coming around and coaching to it. Team meetings, follow-ups, all of that great stuff. And if the company that trained you offers any kind of quarterly follow-up or quarterly team meeting or anything like that, I jump on it. Make sure you understand the agenda and it fits the narrative, but I jump all over it. Have them come in and support that as well. So let's talk about accountability. In this instance, I would expect full accountability. So I want to tell a quick story here, and it has a little bit to do with accountability, but I think it's important to understand. I just had lunch about a month and a half ago with a friend of mine, Bill. I worked with him for years. He was a mentor, a boss, and then eventually a peer. And then at some point I was his boss for a short period of time. He's just an amazing salesperson, an amazing manager. Just a good guy. And I remember going through a sales training course as we began to develop some of the new things we were doing. He didn't have to go through the class. His role had changed. He was more of a field, like a support guy. I shouldn't say that. That's a negative. He was what we call, in his words from baseball, a utility man. He could do anything we asked him to do. And he went where he was needed most. With all of his skill set and managerial skill set. And he was getting ready to move towards retirement. And that was the role he wanted to play. And it was a great role. He went through the class. Not only did he go through the class, he sucked it up. He learned everything he could learn. He asked a lot of questions in the class. Then he took it to the field. And to this day, he's semi-retired. He works a couple of days a week. One of his roles is field coaching new sales reps. And he pulled the paper out from years ago from the training, and he showed me what he goes by. You know, all the information and the process, and he kept a little sheet that he always went in the field with to remind himself. He's still coaching to that sales training years later. Now, there's been some tweaks and add-ons and stuff like that, but the point is that's a guy who's dedicated from a management perspective of getting it right. So what do I mean by full accountability? That means your sales reps adopt the selling training methodology that you've implemented. No quarter. That's it. That's what we do. And the managers have an expectation of that, and the managers manage to that. Whatever changes and updates you've done in the CRM need to be in there. And the sales reps need to acknowledge that and use it. Now, I'm going to say you need to be specific. You need to put in writing the expectations once you're out of this training. Here's what I've done. I'm the manager. I've been through the class twice. Once by myself or with the other managers, depending on the size of your company, and then once with you. I've built an entire coaching plan around this methodology, and I've delivered it to you, one specific to you and one general to the team. We build meetings around the training to help us get better. We brought in resources and tools that we need to help us get better. Now we're all going to be responsible and accountable for the outcome. So specifically, this is my expectation, minimal acceptable expectation for you in utilizing this program. And here are the consequences for failing to do that. You're done. It's a lot of work. I know. Now, either you're excited and passionate about it, and you're on the elliptical now, and you're running as fast as you can, or you got your head down going, John, that's a lot of work. Trust me, I know. Both. I know it's a lot of work. But if you do it, your numbers will go up. Your career will evolve and grow. Your sales rep retention will be better. All of the things that you want will come true. Now, it's not a lot of other things you need to do there, but I think you get the point. I hope you get the point. Email me. Tell me you got the point. Or tell me I'm crazy. But do it politely without cursing at me. Thank you for subscribing to The Funnel. You can find us at alignment-group.com/thefunnel. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Email me, jshay@alignment-group.com. Go to the website. And I'm serious about comments. Tell me what you think. As always, keep filling the funnel.